What's going on, everybody? Exceptional Gabe here, back with another edition of Exceptionally Animated. And today I've got one of my personal favorite voice actors in Vancouver. Please welcome the legendary Colin Murdock. Thank you for joining us today.
Wow, thank you. That was quite an intro. I don't know if I can live up to that, Gabe. That was great. Nice to be
so,
here.
so before we started recording, we were obviously talking about TFcon because you went to TFcon in Los Angeles. How was your time out in TFcon?
Well, it was great. I don't get to too many cons, but this one, was kind of special because I've been in, I think I've been four different characters in Transformers, in the various, variations of Transformer cartoons that we've done here in Vancouver, and so it was really nice, and to see a few guys like Ian Corlett and David Kay, who I worked with lots when they still were in Vancouver, and now they're mostly not here. And so it was just great. And so many nice people. I meet so many nice people when I'm at these cons.
And you also got to see Doug Parker and Gary
Yeah,
Chalk last minute as well.
that's right. Yeah, Doug and Gary I haven't seen for I saw Gary more recently, but I hadn't seen Doug for quite a while, so that was a lot of fun. And like I say, the most fun though is to meet people and just hear their stories about what cartoons or what shows that I've been lucky enough to be part of, what it's kind of meant to them. So that's always the rewarding part.
So while we're on the topic of Transformers, you're in Beast Wars, and I believe you're in one other iteration of Transformers.
Yeah, I think I'm in Armada and in Energon.
So who were the characters you voiced in all of the Transformers?
Well, I think in I get mixed up. Somebody will correct you, and I'm sure. But in Armada, in Energon, I think it was I played Scorponok. I think in
Okay.
Energon, and then I think in Armada I was Thrust. I don't know if I'm getting the Armada and the Energon mixed up, but I was Thrust, and then I was also Wing Dagger, who turned into Wing Saber and became, somehow part of Optimus's arsenal and stuff. So yeah, lots of fun.
Uh, and how did it feel being a part of a franchise as large as Transformers?
Well, it's for us as actors, it's the moment of actually performing and doing it. And back then, of course, we all got to do it in a room together. So that's the real excitement of it. You never know when you do it. Is it going to be a franchise or is it going to be a thing that lasts? Right?
Mhm.
When you get to do a cartoon, you think, "Oh, this is the coolest thing I ever did," and then nobody ever sees it. There was there was a show called, oh gee, I'm not going to remember what it was called. I played a character named Bucketworth. I'll think of the name eventually. There's quite a few if you look at IMDb, so I have trouble remembering sometimes which one was which. But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those shows where I thought it was great and we all loved doing it, but I don't think I ever saw where it was ever aired, right? Whereas Transformers has become such a well-known franchise, and it's great because a lot of people get to enjoy it and know about it and know kind of the characters and that kind of stuff. So it does last a long time. It's awesome. It's kind of a bonus if it does.
Mhm. Definitely. So let's go back in time for a minute. So, what was your first ever voiceover role in the industry?
Oh wow. Yeah, well, that's as you can see by looking at me, that wasn't yesterday or last week. It was a little while ago. I mean, the first ones I did in Vancouver, I had done, all kinds of other stuff and produced and directed things before I kind of got fully into the voice side of I had worked in radio as a newscaster years ago, and I had done theater with small theater groups and stuff. But the first role that people would maybe know was there was two shows called, one was called Dark Stalkers, and the other one was GI Joe Extreme, and I played a character called Rampage in that one, and so that was probably the first couple that I was able to do here in Vancouver.
Oh wow! And GI Joe Extreme, I believe Gary Chalk was in that show as
He
well.
was, yeah. He was like And knowing's half the battle. It's like, that kind of that GI Joe slogan.
Hmm.
So, yep.
So another show you're in, this is a few years afterwards, but this is an underrated anime I wanted to bring up because I'm really into it. And this is
Oh.
the show Trouble Chocolate.
Oh, Troubled Chocolate. Yeah, I think I played Crunchy Bug. Is
Yes,
that the
you
name of the
did.
character?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay,
Crunchy
that's pretty good.
Bug.
I get a check mark right there for remembering that one. Yeah, that was fun. I couldn't tell you what Crunchy Bug sounded like because I don't remember that part of it. There's just so many, hundreds of different voices that you do for that. But what did you like about Trouble Chocolate?
I thought it was a really fun show. I love, obviously the two main characters. It was Richard Ian Cox and Nicole
Mm-hmm.
Oliver, who are both incredible voice actors. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought the concept was, just a really cool concept, like how Nicole Oliver played this like almost robotic, character in
Right.
the show. And It's been a while since I watched it. As you can see, I have the DVD here. I should give it
Yeah.
another watch. But I watched it back in the day because I have the entire series on DVD, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was really, really good. And
Cool.
again, you got some incredible talent, like also Jocelyn Lowen is in that show, and Andrew Francis and
Mm-hmm.
Richard Newman. So many great voice actors in Vancouver in this show.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And you had Ian Cox, he was doing his Inuyasha voice for the character he voiced in Trouble Chocolate. And you were in Inuyasha as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I think I played Sango's father.
Yeah, Sango's father, and you
Yeah,
voiced there was another character you
another
voiced.
character.
Yeah, you voiced Warrior Can.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. I mean, I remember doing the other one, but I don't remember what he sounded like. I remember Sango's father sounded, he was like, "Are you sure that you are good enough to become a demon slayer?" That's like he was just kind of a chill guy. He was
Mm,
a chill dude.
so here, just a minute here. So this was
Every
your character in Inuyasha, your other one you voiced.
that other one. And what was he called? Roy Akan.
Yeah, Warrior.
Oh, anybody have a recording of what that sounded like? He
I
looks like,
If I find a recording, I'll be sure to send it to you
yeah,
because I don't know if there's any recordings on YouTube, but the entire series is on Netflix, I believe. So
yeah.
yeah, I'll need to look it up.
So you're kind of an anime fan, are you?
Yes. There's a lot of animes I like. One of my personal favorites, I don't think you were in this one, was Hamtaro,
Yeah, I
which was
remember
yeah.
Hamtaro. I
Uh,
wonder if I did a little part on it or something. Because I definitely remember that,
yeah, it was
that
also done
show.
at Ocean, obviously.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
look at this. If you turn it around, look who signed it. Kiawazani.
Oh, nice. Fantastic.
Yeah. And another show you were in, this show you were in with Kiara. Remember doing the show What
Y-
About Mimi?
Yeah, I was her dad in that show, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of your memories from working on that show?
Well, it was, it was one of those sort of typical kind of, she was kind of played like an adolescent kind of preteen, I think, right?
Yeah.
Mimi was.
Yeah.
And she was always getting in some sort of trouble. So, the fun part is just, you get to be the dad who's like trying to keep things under control and trying to keep things level. Um, that was easy for me because I am a dad and was a dad back then too. And so, that comes from lots of experience. I was just trying to keep things level.
And obviously your wife was voiced by Ellen Kennedy. And
Oh, okay.
ironically, you did another show with Ellen Kennedy.
Yeah,
This is
that's
the
right.
classic,
Dinosaur Train.
yeah, Dinosaur
Yeah.
Train. Uh,
We're gonna ride, ride, ride. Oh, I gotta show you. Okay, I'm gonna show you something from the shelf here. This is gonna be a special. This is gonna be a special awareness thing. This is another character I played in Dinosaur Train. Can you see that? Okay.
yeah,
Hank and Kylosaurus. And look, my voice is in here. Listen.
Hi, I'm Hank. Press any of my Dinosaur Train friends to hear us talk.
Oh, that is so cool.
Hi, I'm Hank.
Hi, everybody. We're gonna ride the Dinosaur Train.
That is so
Pretty
cool.
good, hey?
Yes, I love it. So I love, as you can see, I love collecting different figures and stuff. And
Right.
I love it when there's the toys that has the actual voice
The
of the,
voice, I know.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done too many of those. There was another one that I did the voice for called Chef C. And he was kind of like I can't remember what dinosaur it was, but it was some kind of a dinosaur that but he was like they sort of found him in Louisiana, so he kind of had a sort of New Orleans accent where he talked like this, and he was a chef and from a Cajun kind of flavor on everything like that here. And so, but I've never, and so my voice is on that toy too, but I've never found the toy. So, if anybody out there has a Chef C toy, I'm interested.
Good luck. Maybe I'll find one for you because I'm pretty
There you
good at
go.
finding stuff.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's great.
And of course, probably your most notable character in the show you voiced was Mr. Pterodon.
Yeah, Mr. Pteranodon. Yeah,
Pterodon, yeah.
he was the guy that was there all the time.
Yeah. So, what were your memories from working on that show?
Well, that show was really just a real favorite because of the creator, Craig Bartlett. He's just a real he's a real force in the industry. He also did Ready Jet Go after that, and he's really good at these kind of younger kid shows. But the interesting part is he also wrote the music for that Dinosaur Train theme and performed it. That's him singing. Well, there was a pteranodon who, I can't remember the, I can't remember much, can't remember the words, but the Dinosaur Train. That's him singing as well. So and he came up and was basically the director for the recording. And just the nicest guy in the industry, honestly, super guy, and just really involved in every aspect of the show. Created it, got the story Bible together, and then was involved in the recording, did the music himself, and just a great guy. We had just fun times all the time on that show.
That's awesome. And another show you did, this is an obscure show, so I don't know if you remember this one. You were in a couple episodes of Generation O. Do you remember doing that show?
I do vaguely. Generation O, is it called?
Yeah, it was based off the rock band Letters to Cleo. They did all of the songs for the show, and the main
Wow.
character was voiced by Chantel Strand. And
Okay.
you were in the first episode. You voiced like this mean senator character who
I
wanted,
always got, I did a lot of the bad guys, I did a lot of bad guys.
yeah, like he was very mean. He hated animals. He was cruel to animals, and he wanted Molly O to play at his like campaign rally, and she was like, "I'm not playing at your campaign rally." And he started saying to Molly, "Oh, if you don't play at my campaign rally, I'm gonna tell everyone you wet the bed." Basically,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
that's an obscure one. If I only do, one episode of a show, it sort of is sometimes harder to remember what that was about, obviously, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm
Um,
glad you enjoyed it. That's great.
Yeah, it was directed by Chris Zimmerman,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
who also directed another underrated show you were in, the Cramp Twins. Remember doing that?
Oh, I love the Cramp Twins. Yeah. Yeah, that's another show that I don't know if it ever even showed in Canada. It was I think a British company, and I talked to somebody afterwards that they'd seen it in the UK, they'd seen it in England, and thought it was great. I guess it was a big deal in England, but I don't know whether it. I mean, I never saw where it showed here on a network, so I don't know.
Yeah, you voiced a couple of characters in that show. You, of course, Mr. Winkle, who is another
Mr. Wink.
bad guy.
I know another. It's always the bad guys. I mean, look at this face. I guess they just think, "Wow, that's a bad guy."
Yeah,
And there you go.
Mr. Winkle, and he also voiced Mr. Phelps, who was the father of one of the characters in the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Winkle was the guy who kind of owned the place and was just sort of mean to, and that was Ian Corlett too that I did with, right? He was wasn't he the guy who I was the boss of him, I think?
Yes, he was always scared of your character.
Yeah,
It was so funny.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that was such a fun show.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that, of course, Ian was the conductor in Dinosaur Train, so we've worked together a lot of times.
Hmm. And I remember Mr. Winkle also had a daughter who had a crush on the main character, Wayne Cramp. And she was very spoiled. Basically, you gave her whatever she wanted.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Lito Carl voiced Dodie Joe, who was this junkyard guy, and you never saw his face. It was always cut off from the camera.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So, another show you were in was Rainbow Fish. Do you remember doing that
Oh
show?
yeah, I was Sir Sword in Rainbow Fish, and he was really quite. He was a swordfish, but he was a very proper Englishman, and had all sorts of ideas of how things should be done.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Yeah,
that was a fun show too because obviously it's based off of a popular book, and again,
right.
you had a great voice cast in that show. Like Kiara
Yeah,
Zani was in that show, and Andrew Francis, and so many wonderful people.
yeah, it's
Uh,
true.
and the next show is probably one of my favorite shows you were in. You were in Code Captors.
Card captors, right? Card captors?
Yep, and you voiced the Spinner Son.
Spinner Sun. Yeah, that's right. You know, somebody came up and asked me about that at the recent TFcon. And they wanted me to, they had a drawing or something of one of the card captor of my Spinner Sun character, and they wanted me to autograph it. So of course I did, with a Spinner Sun phrase and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
What some of those shows were about.
yeah. And you were kind of you look just like Kyo, who was of course voiced by Matt Hill.
Hmm.
He was like the bright yellow creature, and your
Yeah.
character was all black. And he was much
The
more
bad guy again. See, that
yeah,
was the bad guy again.
yeah, much more serious. There was an episode I
Yeah.
remember where he ate a bunch of sweets and he went on a huge sugar rush, like destroying everything. Remember that episode?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's always good to go crazy and destroy things if you can. If you
Yeah,
can get away with it, like in cartoons, you can get away with stuff like that. In real life, not so much.
yeah. And I was gonna ask you, can you still do the Spindle Sun voice?
If you play it for me, I can do it.
2 hours later.
Now, if I just find a nice quiet place for a nap without any sort of disturbances, that would be much better until I can go crazy and blow everything up!
Yes, yes. Okay, that sounded perfect. Yes, I'm
There we
so
go.
happy I was able to find that. Thank you.
Yeah, good for you. That's right. Yeah, because like you say, it's hundreds of different voices over the years. So unless it's if it's one that's well known or whatever, but yeah, Spinner's Son was a little bit more obscure.
Yeah. So do you have any memories that stuck out from working on that show? That was obviously ADR as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I don't mind doing ADR. I find it interesting. When I teach students now when they're learning to do stuff, I talk about ADR, and it's a good opportunity for people if you can do the technical part of it because it's quite something. It's another whole level of performance to have to do your character and perform a good job of acting the character, but also matching the flaps and matching the lips that are in the original Japanese or French or German. I've done different cartoons for all kinds of languages and stuff. But Japanese is a large one, obviously, because of anime and because of all that stuff that's done there. But it's definitely another whole skill to be able to do that acting and trying to keep it matching with what the flaps are doing. It's always a tricky thing to do. But I enjoy doing it, and I've done lots of, I think you said, yeah, the Crunchy Bug character. That was fun. That was also ADR. I like to do it. It's always, when actors you look for doing the prelay cartoons, like Dinosaur Train or What About Mimi or things like that. We always look to do that because we generally get a little bit better paycheck, to be honest, with doing the prelay than doing the ADR stuff because it's already had one production with the original cast in Japanese or whatever, and so it's a lot harder work, but it's kind of challenging too because you have to not only perform your part, but you have to do it in a way that's going to match with those flaps. And then if it does match really well, it becomes the performance becomes almost, I don't know, more memorable in a way, right?
Hmm. Most definitely. Anyway, moving along, another show you did around that time, you did Sabrina the Animated Series. Remember doing that?
Right. Yeah, I was her cat, I think, wasn't I?
Uh,
I'm pretty sure.
uh, Maybe because there were several
What
different.
is it? Yeah, I might have done a few other characters too.
Yeah, because
And then
they had in between the original series, they had a movie, and then they had
right.
a spin-off called Sabrina's Secret Life. Uh,
Yeah, that's a different one. I
yeah,
don't
so you might have done like some various characters.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you
Um,
have listed there?
so it said in the movie that you voiced one of the hockey players in the movie.
Oh yeah. That's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
and for Sabrina's Secret Life, it just says additional voices. It doesn't even name a
Oh, it
kid.
doesn't even name them. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I do remember in some of the series I did play her cat, but the cat didn't do much. And you know how these productions go is that sometimes they'll change like for instance for a cat voice, they might change their mind when they're editing and sort of say, "You know what, we want to do something, and they might just cut out the fact that the cat, but I think the cat talked. It's
Yeah,
again, it's a while ago. Yeah.
yeah. You were in
Cool.
several productions at that was of course Geek Entertainment. You
Right.
were in several productions at Geek Entertainment. You also
Hmm.
weren't you in Inspector Gadget as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Inspector Gadget. I was in Gadget and the Gadgetinis,
That's
and
it. Yeah,
yeah, and I played his boss, who was a commander in the French Foreign Legion. So Quimby wasn't his boss in this series. Inspector Nozaire was his boss, and Gadget kept calling him Nose Hair because Maurice LaMarche was doing the voice for Gadget at that time. It already replaced Don Adams. And so he was doing the voice. So he'd say, "All right, Colonel Nose Hair, I'm back here to see you." He'd do his Gadget bit, and then I'd go, "It's Nozel, you imbecile! Get out of my office!" He would yell at him. He would kick Gadget out of his office by yelling at him with a bad French accent. It was kind of somewhere between Peter Sellers' bad French accent and Jean Chrétien, who I think was prime minister at the time. So he always add this kind of extra on it, you fool, kind of like that.
so when you got casted in the show, were you a fan of the original Inspector Gadget from the 80s?
Oh, of course, sure. I was even before that. I had connection to Get Smart because Don Adams did Get Smart before he did Gadget, and that was a well-known TV show that sort of kids grew up on in the 70s. And Don Adams played a spy in that. And there was a character, and this is what I tell people when I see them is that you shouldn't always. Bullying is bad, but if you
Mhm.
can use your pain and your bad experiences for creative purposes, you can do something good with it. Because there was a guy who was 16 years old in grade nine, the ninth grade. He would hold me up against the wall in the boys' locker room and say, "Du Siegfried." And that was a character on Get Smart with a German accent. So I'd go, "Stocker, we don't do it here." And then he would let me go. So it was like I used used my creativity to get me out of a bad spot, and overcome bullying with voice work.
I love that. So I'm actually on the autism spectrum, and part of the reason I do this podcast is because I love connecting with different voice actors and to spread autism awareness. And I was
Hmm.
bullied a lot too, just because I'm different and I'm on the autism spectrum. So I
Yeah.
can definitely relate to what you're saying right there.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's a good lesson for us all is that, bad things can happen, but if we can take a chance to turn it around and use it for a creative purpose, then and that's just what you're doing, Gabe, on your show. So that's awesome.
Mhm. Thank you so much. And so this show was pretty weird. I don't know if you remember this one because it's like Generation O. It's a very obscure one. Do you
Right.
remember doing Super Duper Sumos?
Super duper sumos. Yeah, I do remember that. I mean, I don't remember which character I played, but I remember the title that we did that. And then, well, there was another one that was the Mexican wrestling show. Did you ever see that one?
Mucha Lucha?
Mucha Lucha. Yeah. That
Yeah,
that
you
was even
were
more fun.
um Mr. Flea.
That's right. Mr. Flea. Yeah, he was like a flea, but he was somehow he was a Mexican wrestler. And those guys would always Mr. Flea. I think Mr. Flea sounded like this, very small. Uh, but he was able to flip much larger people front than himself. Bam! Like that.
And let me tell you something. I miss those days because that was when Warner Brothers was actually very experimental with their animation department. Because that was for a short period of time in the early 2000s, Warner Brothers was using Vancouver voice actors for all their cartoons, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. Super
mhm.
duper. Yeah.
For example, another show done by Warner Brothers was Baby Looney Tunes. You were in that as well, weren't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Baby Looney Tunes was around that same time, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember who you voiced?
You know, you'd have to remind me.
Um, I would, but again, it just
It
says
just says various
additional.
voices.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes the credits, because those kind of things just come up with however the credits came out. And so, a lot of people will kind of, I remember everybody was like Terry Clausen was on that, and I think Matt Hill probably too, and
Sam
Ian,
Vincent.
yeah, Sam Vincent for sure. Yeah, I don't, that's one I don't remember exactly who I played. Definitely remember being on it.
Yeah. And you also did Crypto the Super Dog.
Crypto the Superdog. You're pulling some obscure ones out of the hat, aren't you?
Yep. And that was, of course, again, Sam Vincent voiced Crypto, and he was
Right.
amazing. And
Yes.
um, Superman himself was Michael Dangerfield. That's who voiced Superman.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you voiced some numerous characters again in Crypto. Like it says here, you voiced like a news reporter and Lex Cope security guard. So obviously various voices in that show.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, those were the good old days.
Hmm. And this was another Warner Brothers show, and this is about as obscure we're gonna get. Do you remember
Okay,
the
yeah,
show?
because I think we've gone far as we can go down the obscure barrel.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember the show Firehouse Tales?
Yes, yeah, I remember it vaguely. I think where it was it was everybody a truck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it says here you voiced the um Tech, uh Snooty Tooty, and Boki. Do any of those names sound familiar?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tech might have been kind of a, tough mechanic-y kind of voice, sounded like sort of like this maybe.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Snooty Tooty sounds like it might be something like this, but I don't really remember it. So I'm just making something up as we go along.
So anyway, moving on from all of the Warner Brothers shows, I noticed on your shelf, is that a Barbie back there?
It is a Barbie back there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
My
you were in
granddaughter keeps wanting to play with it, but I have to leave it in the box.
yeah, because you were in a bunch of Barbie projects.
I sure was. Yeah. Yeah, I was in well, Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus. I was the bad guy named Wenlock. And he
Again, the
was
bad guy.
again the bad guy, always the bad guy. Yeah, and I, stole their daughter and turned her into a horse and turned them into ice statues and but as always he gets it in the end. And then I think Barbie and her sisters, I think that Barbie's from Barbie and her they sent that to me actually. And Barbie and her sisters in a ponytail. See if that one says that. Yeah, that's right. And it's and that one I played a couple of different characters. I was the because it all ends up being in a horse race, and so I was the race announcer, but then I was one of the bad guys as well. The race announcer was round the final turn. They're coming right up to the thing over the last jump, and the pole is there. Look out! And it was like that because he was the race announcer, and then one of the brothers that was raising horses. They were two French guys in the French part of the Swiss Alps, and he was ridiculously wanting everything to be matching in aubergine and stuff like that. So, that's who that guy was.
And who could forget the best character in the Barbie universe? I'm of course talking about Bibble, who was Lee Tokar.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I agree if it's the best character if I didn't play it.
uh, that was in. Were you in Barbie Fairytopia?
I don't think so, no. I
Okay,
think I was in those two that I mentioned and maybe Swan Lake. I think it
Swan
was the
Lake. That's a
Royal
classic.
Scheduler. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was the Royal Scheduler.
yeah. That's the
Yeah.
one my sister had on VHS back in the day. Like, remember
Oh,
when
yeah.
VHS was a thing?
That's pretty cool. Yep.
hmm And you're in Polly Pocket as well, won't you?
hmm Yep. Yeah. Did a number of Polly Pockets show. I think, yeah, it was some kind of an alligator, I think.
Alligator and Polly Pocket. That
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it fits
Is
though.
that right, or am I mixing it up? Hold on. I can mix it up.
uh,
What's another? What does it tell you there?
well, in one of them, because I know there was obviously several Polly Pocket
Yeah.
movies. One of them you played a hotel manager in. Do you remember doing that?
No.
No.
No, I don't remember that one.
Okay. Um, but yeah, there was maybe you played an alligator. I don't know. I haven't seen many of the Polly Pocket.
Yeah. If you have the information, I can probably, pull it out of the memory banks, but for me to remember is a little too much.
Yeah.
Too many.
um,
I've been too fortunate.
mhm. So, moving along, you were also in. We're going back to the
Oh,
obscure
I
basement.
thought we already went down the barrel of the obscure. I thought we went all the way to the bottom.
Nope, I forgot. I
Okay.
forgot one movie you were in, and
Okay.
believe it or not, I only remember this movie because we watched it once. When we were about to go to Christmas break during grade school, you were
Okay.
in A Very Fairy Christmas. Do you remember that movie?
Sort of. What did I play?
You voiced the dad, one of the elves, and Santa.
Okay, I was Santa in that one. That's right. I remember that one. Yeah. So Santa, he just sort of sounded like this and was very kind of happy to be there and happy to help out with people and
Yeah.
listen to what they wanted for toys.
I don't know if this sounds familiar, but basically the plot of the movie was Santa had these fairies and they would spy on all of the kids. That sounds kind of weird, but
Yeah.
they would spy on the kids through these paintings they had on the wall, and that would determine if they were on the naughty or nice list.
Oh, okay. So it's like an elf on the shelf, but a little bit different.
Yes, yes. And I forgot about it for many years, but this guy brought it up in one of his videos, and he put it on his worst Christmas movies of all time list.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's fair. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. But it was kind of funny. So I interviewed Tabitha Saint Germain,
Yeah.
and I told her this. She was in that movie too. She voiced one of the fairies. I told her the
Right.
same thing in her reaction. She was like, "Yes." Uh,
That's funny. Yeah, good.
oh man.
Okay.
So let's move on to some of the big ones you were in. You were in the League of Super Evil, which is obviously one of the, you know, in my opinion, one of the biggest shows you've done back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see if I have a thing here. Hold on. Let me see. This was when we got this is when it was on the cover of Real West. There he is.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
There it is, the cover of Real West Digest. We made the cover, so that was pretty cool. That was probably one of my favorite shows too. I think it was just because the writing was so great. The two writers were just really interested in the show. We also got to play a bunch of different characters. I did, sort of did Red Menace, who was just really excited about everything. He liked to get everything done, but he also wanted to plant some flowers first. So he's a big tough guy, but he really had a soft heart. And then I got to play other guys like Doom Driver and people like that who just were, all kinds of different of the characters. And then the what was it, Force Five or something, Force V. Some of they're just the amount of different characters that were written in the show was just so cool. A lot of fun. And that
Yeah.
was with Lee Tokar as well, obviously, and Scott McNeil. The three of us were the league, along with Doomageddon.
And what I thought was amazing about that show is you voiced all three of you voiced just about every single character in the show.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. We did. Yeah, we were able to do all the other characters as well, and that sort of made it probably even more special because we had just so many different things we were doing, and it would be fun because we were in the same room doing it together, and I think Alvin Sanders was in that show sometimes, and lots of other people played characters as well. But Lee and Scott and I got to do most of the additional characters, which made it a lot of fun. And we were all in the room together, so we were just kind of trying to crack each other up and had such a great time.
hmm And also by Node Cooks, you were also in Stormhawks. I have the
Oh,
DVD
yeah,
right here.
absolutely. There we go.
Um,
Wow.
so
Yeah, that's a good one.
what was some of your memories of Stormhawks?
Let's see here. Wait, I gotta get my Junko. He can talk for me. Hey, hey guys, let's get it happening. My memories of Stormhawks was awesome, because we did, um, we did all kinds of voices for that too. And just Arrow. Let's see, Arrow had his kind of stuff going on, but Junko was always kind of going in and battling people and trying to figure stuff out. He wasn't maybe the brightest bulb, but he got stuff done, and he kind of had a soft heart for people too. It was good. Loved
hmm
that show.
hmm And this is another favorite of mine you did. Do you remember doing Littlest Pet Shop?
Yeah, that's where I played the alligator.
Yes,
Littlest Pet
Wiggles.
Shop.
Yes,
Because pets, alligators, that's what I've got it mixed up with. I said you said it for Polly Pocket, but it was Littlest Pet Shop. I was like some kind of Sammy something. He was, I think, was it Sammy? I don't
Wiggles. That was the name of
know.
your character.
Mr. Wiggles. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Was it Wiggles?
and he was a
Yeah.
bully.
He was a bit of a bully.
Yeah,
Well, see, I had experience from being bullied, so I knew how to play that.
yeah. and you also voiced Ramon, and you voiced Bruce, the legal iguana.
There you go. Those were fun. Yeah, those were fun times.
And I doubt you remember the voice, but do you remember the Wiggles voice from Littlest Pet Shop? Uh,
No, I don't. I don't. You're right. I don't.
uh, do you have time if I look it up real quick?
8 hours later.
Wow, it's like
That poison is never gonna be perfect now!
it's sort of like that.
That was amazing. One other show I wanted to ask you about, obviously being such a popular show, were you in Friendship is Magic at all?
Well, I did lots of My Little Pony. I did about 12 different episodes, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure, how the crediting goes. I'm in terms of some of those. So, yeah,
yeah.
you'll just have to go by what it says, I guess.
Okay. And were you in Johnny Test?
Oh yeah. Oh, I was in a number of episodes of Johnny Test, but the main one was again played a crazy bad guy, Mr. Wacko, and he was like, "I would love to get a hold of that Johnny Test." He was called Mr. Wacko.
That's funny. And you were in Rated A for Awesome, which was also Node Copes.
Yeah, that was like and the great thing about the Nerdcore shows is, that's a local Vancouver company that developed it and everything.
Mhm.
And so that made it kind of special and kind of cool. And that was also really cool because I played Lars, who was a student, I think from Norway or Denmark, from a Scandinavian country, and he was there at school. So he was excited the whole time.
And I have a plush to show you real quick because I think you're in the show
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
Martha Speaks. Remember this show?
Oh, right. Wow. Martha Speaks. Yeah, I did a couple episodes of that show.
Do you
Uh,
remember who you voiced though? Because again, it just says various voices, so probably.
yeah. No, there was a guy, he was like had to sing a song for it. He was a music teacher or something. I'm just not sure.
Yeah. And lastly, you in
Okay.
Edgar and Ellen, you voiced
Edgar and
Dr.
Ellen.
McStone.
Oh yeah, Duncan McStern sounded like this the whole time, and he was a great teacher, but he really wanted to focus on a lot of things. So he was more kind of like sounded like Billy Connolly. It was kind of like that. It was lovely, good
um,
fun.
so you probably have to wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah,
But
I
before
do. But thank
but
you.
you're welcome. Before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask you one more question.
Sure.
If you had to pick, what would be one of your favorite characters you've ever voiced?
Well, that is a really tough one to pick. Favorite voices because there's so many different ones. Probably. Probably for me, there's two kinds of favorites. Like in terms of the favorite show that I worked on, probably it'd be League of Super Evil or one of those shows. Because there were local guys producing it, first of all, and then second of all, because got to do so many voices. So even though Red was just kind of this guy who was here, the other voices I got to do, like Doom Driver and all these kind of guys, were great. So I like it as a favorite show. But in terms of a favorite voice, it'd probably be something English. So it might be. Wenlock from the Barbie movie, because he's just like, don't be sad. I've given her wings and a tail. You haven't lost a daughter. You've gained a pet. That's probably, you'd have to go there.
Oh, that's amazing. All right,
There we
well,
go.
thank you so much for doing this, Colin. It was
You
such a
betcha. Well,
pleasure chatting with
thank
you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, okay?
Thank you. You too, Gabe. It was really great to meet you and chat with you. And keep up the good work.
Thank you
You're doing
so
a great
much.
job.
See
Okay.
ya.